2021, 7 p.m., City of Somerton regular council meeting. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Tapia, can you please lead us?
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Roll call.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya,
Present.
Vice Mayor Miguel Villalpando,
Present.
Councilmember Juan Castillo, Councilmember Jesus Roldan, Councilmember Luis Galindo, Councilmember Martha Garcia,
Present.
Councilmember Lorena Sendejas.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we go and talk to the public, I want to welcome Hector. Welcome back, Hector. Okay, we're gonna move on, call to the public. Anybody from the public wishing to address council? There's no one. And move on to consent agenda. There's 4 items in consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of amendment to city attorney and chief personnel officer employment contract. Approval of settlement participation form with McKesson Corporation, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen Corporation, and with Johnson & Johnson, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, Ortho McNeil, Johnson Pharmaceuticals, and Johnson Pharmaceutical related to opioid litigation. Discussion and possible action to approve contract with H&E Equipment Services for repair to ladder truck 1 in the amount of $34,110.35 and any associated budget transfers. Item number 4, approval of funding agreement between the Arizona Department of Housing and City of Somerton, Somerton Heights improvement in the amount of $624,214. Does any member of council want to remove an item from consent agenda? Is there a motion?
So moved.
So motion by Councilmember Sendejas, second by Councilmember Galindo. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to open public hearing? The motion by Councilmember Garcia,
Second.
second by Councilmember Sendejas. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you on the agenda is the required public hearing item for Zoning Code Text Amendment PLN 21-0028. This is a city-sponsored and city-initiated zoning code text amendment proposing the creation of a new R15 zoning classification, which is compatible with our general plan low density land use designation. Aside from creating a new R15 district for the city of Somerton, an R15 zoning designation, the text amendment is also proposing several new additional development standards for all new residential development in existing residential zoning districts, as well as in the new proposed R15 district. I have prepared this presentation for you to go over the proposed text amendment, and with your permission, I would like to begin the presentation for the public hearing item. All right. So a little bit of background for this, why the city initiated this R15 text amendment. Smaller lots are becoming increasingly popular in the country. Housing trends are evolving. Housing prices, real estate prices are at a record all-time high, and zoning codes and other municipal codes need to adapt over time to keep up with these trends. Smaller lots are currently defined by our zoning ordinance as any lot smaller than 6,000 square feet. which is also the smallest lot size currently permitted in Somerton. The new R15 zoning classification would be an additional option to allow these small lots under 6,000 square feet. The R15 district that we are proposing is found in other municipalities and is, as I mentioned, compatible with our low density land use designation. At your direction, the council's direction, staff began the process to create the new R15 zoning classification on August 17th of this year. And we created what would be the amendment to the code. We took it to the Planning and Zoning Commission on October 25th. And the commission at that meeting recommended approval of the text amendment, creating the new R15 zoning classification and also approving the additional design standards with a few minor tweaks that we had to do to the wording. Any questions so far by the council?
One question. And this requirement is, are we requiring them to have a garage or no? Because it doesn't specify here, but I know everybody does. So. Or a patio cover or something?
Actually, yes, Councilmember Galindo. It's not in my highlights in the last slide that a garage and not a carport is required, a hard zoning requirement now, but we actually did include it in the wording for the text amendment. And that's in the exhibit. We can go over it if you'd like. But to answer your question briefly, the answer is yes. A garage would now be required as part of one of the additional design standards to ensure quality. Any additional questions by the council? So this is the staff definition that we are proposing for the single family R15. The R15 district is intended to allow a mix of detached residential unit types and low densities to provide a balance of housing opportunities while maintaining neighborhood compatibility. Small lot sizes created by the R15 district are intended to promote a very compact form of development, similar to the traditional residential or neo-traditional neighborhood. The district has a minimum size of 5,000 square feet. So that is the definition for the new district that we are proposing. And these are the proposed development standards for the R15 district. R15 is the one right below R16 and has the minimum lot size of 5,000, minimum lot width as of 50 feet, same as R16, a front setback of 20 feet, same as R16, a side setback of 5 feet versus the 7 feet allowed by the R16 district. We are proposing 5 feet because 5 feet is, up until very recently, we allowed 5-foot setbacks in the city of Somerton. If you go to the Venecia subdivision or the Veranda subdivision, both of those subdivisions are relatively new and they were allowed under 5 feet. So there is a historical precedent to allow 5-foot setbacks in the city, and which is why we're proposing in the R15 district, because as the definition stated, this is a more compact, more urban form of development. This is something intended to be a little bit more dense with quality though, which is why we're doing the other requirements. The rear setback is 10 feet as we're proposing, same as the R16, and all the footnotes of the R16 district also apply to the R15 district. So the only difference really in development standards between R16 and R15 is the minimum lot size and the side setback. Any questions on?
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Okay, so why the difference in side setbacks between an R15 and an R16? I mean, if anything, you figure that they're higher density, then you would want a little bit more side setbacks. But what I'm really curious is, what does Chief DeAnda think about this? Is he available?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
The previous setback, we didn't have an issue with the fire department, but any increases in lessening the space between the lot line and the edge of the house, I have a concern with. For obviously, we want to mitigate exposures. And so, you know, you have that eave hanging off that house, which is about 2 feet. So if you take another 2 feet away, then you're really reducing it from 5 to 3 feet. And so basically I could stand on the edge of that roof and hop and hit the next roof with my neighbor. And that would concern me as a firefighter, because you have a house fire and the eaves are on fire. You only have a limited amount of space to the next house for it to light up. That's all I have.
Thank you.
So Councilmember Villalpando, your question was why 5 feet instead of the 7 feet allowed by R16? Well, to try to answer your question is that, as I mentioned previously, we used to have 5 feet, so there is a precedent. Also, when we were writing this plan, this text amendment, we looked to our neighboring municipalities who have the R15 districts, and we found that 5 feet was pretty much the standard side setback in both the city of Yuma and the city of San Luis. So it's common for these smaller lots to have smaller setbacks so that you can get the most out of that smaller lot.
Yeah, and historically, we did have 5 feet, but that's why we went to 7 feet. It was because of the potential of one fire jumping from another. And just because other municipalities are doing it doesn't mean that we can't improve upon it or be a little bit more cautious in preventing some of these fires hopping from one house to another. I mean, I think that's kind of irrelevant, but I think it's also a little bit weird that on an R16 with a lower density, you're requiring them more side setbacks, more feet, and you're not requiring that on where it's higher density. These lots that you guys are describing, well, what's lot coverage? 40%?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
So more likely they're going to build 2,000 square foot homes. They could build up to 2,000 square foot homes. So these are going to be some pretty big structures in a really narrow lot, which, I mean, there's other things to look at. You know, where are they going to park? Most people, yes, they have a two car garage and probably 2 on the driveway, but people don't do that. They fill up their garage with God knows what, and maybe have one parking space available, and then they end up parking in the street. And with lots not being as wide, who knows where they're going to park? I mean, an average household with 2 kids probably has 4 vehicles. I mean, mom and dad work, kids grow up, guess what? There's a vehicle for each kid. And so that's a type of stuff that I look at is long-term effect of these subdivisions. So, and I mean, I don't know why you guys went 50 foot wide versus 60 and just shrink the back. My understanding is that some of these millennials probably don't want to do all the landscaping. So you could cut the landscaping off the back. I mean, my daughter's one of them, and she bought a house that doesn't have much backyard because she didn't want a big backyard. She didn't want to take care of it. So I agree with in that aspect that some of these lots are probably 5,000 square foot lots are viable for us. But we also have to take care of all the traffic and all the other stuff that comes with it.
Vice Mayor, I agree with your comment that we need to look at all the effects of the district and what the additional density would do to a neighborhood. However, we feel confident that we've vetted what we are proposing well enough to think that it could be a good product. I'm going to try to recap some of your points here. The first one about the the building overhang, staff would really recommend that we keep the 5-foot setback just to ensure, to give more flexibility to builders and developers who want to make the most out of that lot. I recognize that about the overhang, building overhangs, how you could, the comment that the chief made that you could jump from one roof to another. Perhaps it could be worded that whenever a house is situated on a lot at a 5-foot setback, that we have an overhang limit of 1 foot or perhaps even less. I've seen houses with no building overhang and they look pretty nice. Perhaps that would be a potential solution to that concern about the building overhang. We don't have it in the wording yet, but we could easily add that, something like that, if perhaps that would alleviate your concern a little bit.
No, definitely, Saul, and I'm glad that you guys are thinking about all the concerns that we share with you guys, and I really appreciate that. It sounds like a good idea to me, but quite honestly, if somebody wants a 2-foot overhang, guess what? Push your side setbacks to 7. Give them option A and option B. I'm willing to work with people, but I'm not willing to put other people in jeopardy just because a particular individual wants to build what they want to build.
And that's a fair compromise, Vice Mayor. Thank you for the comment. Some of the other points that you mentioned for the parking, well, parking is it's unfortunately it's just a reality of the environment that we build, and not just in Somerton, but also in all of Yuma County. It seems that multi-generational households are becoming the norm, and it's you're right. Kids, mom, dad, they have 4 or 5 cars. Currently, parking anywhere in the front setback that isn't the driveway or the garage is a zoning violation. So even if we were to make the minimum lot width at 60 feet, they would not be allowed to park in the front lawn, in the front setback area of the property. So that would still be a zoning violation if the lot was 50, 60, or 70 feet wide. They would only be allowed to park in that driveway. So your concern is something we believe that we can remedy through code enforcement, the code enforcement process, and but still maintaining the flexibility and all the benefits that the R15 district has. Does that sound like something that you would entertain?
Well, I mean, and you hit the nail on the head. There's really no solution to that problem. Whether they park on their yard, which is a violation, but they'll park on the side of the street. So my concern is that with 50-foot wide lots, there's not going to be much of an area for them to park at. So where are we going to push all this traffic? But again, I guess that's neither here nor there. Buyer beware. If you buy a house there and for some reason you need to park out on the street, there's going to be a lot less street parking available. So sounds like it'll be more of an issue for them than really the city. So, but other than that, I'm okay with the rest of the changes there for R15. The main one was the overhang.
Council members, do you have any questions, comments?
One question. How wide will the roads will be? Because I have noticed up in Phoenix, there's multiple like that, and the roads are narrow, like the ones on the golf course. And I know we're not supposed to park on the street. There's signs, but we don't enforce it. So how wide will the roads will be?
As far as the minimum right-of-way width in the R15 district, it would be it really just depends what kind of street will go through the neighborhood. More than likely, they'll all be local streets. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but we have a minimum right-of-way of 50 feet, which is 4 feet for each sidewalk, which leaves you 44 feet for the asphalt paving of the street. So it'll be the same as a Valle del Sol 3, Valle del Sol 4, the same as you would find in an existing subdivision or a new
Not
subdivision.
on the golf course.
I don't know about the golf course. It seems a little narrow.
Like 20, I guess. Yeah.
But yes.
Okay.
Any further questions on the development standards of the R15 district? So I'm going to briefly I think you've seen this already. Would you like me to explain this slide, Council?
Well, you've seen it too, right? At the
I'm okay.
so yeah. Any member of the public who wants to see this as a public hearing, so. Well, okay.
So the allowed uses in the R15 district would be the exact same ones in the R16 district, which is primarily single-family residential. These are the design guidelines that I had mentioned that were coming. And these are all design guidelines targeted to ensure quality development, not just in the new R15 district, but in all new homes and all new subdivisions in all R16, R18, R110, and all the other ones. So we are requiring a garage, as Councilmember Galindo asked about earlier. That is a new requirement. No more carports will be allowed. All existing carports will be considered legal non-conforming. So if you have a carport now and you would like to make repairs or maintain the upkeep of your carport, that's totally fine, but no new carports. It's all garages required now. And that's one of the new requirements. Another one is to require tile roofs for all new single-family detached homes and new subdivisions and on existing lots, or other durable material. And what I mean by other durable material is that there's other kinds of, it doesn't have to be concrete tile. It could be any future materials that may exist, basically. That way we're not limiting ourselves to concrete tile. We are also proposing to prohibit rooftop mounted mechanical or HVAC equipment in all single family detached, attached, duplex, townhome uses, and in new subdivisions and in existing lots. That is purely an aesthetic requirement. It's just so that in all commercial development right now, we require rooftop equipment to be screened. We were kind of thinking about that. Perhaps we could leave that for residential as well. For example, if you have a Santa Fe roof with parapets, you could potentially screen your HVAC equipment, your AC unit. So we could perhaps allow it then. But in a house that has a pitched roof, we are proposing to no rooftop AC. We're also proposing to require front yard landscaping for all single family detached, attached, duplex, and townhomes and new subdivisions in all existing lots. So your finished product now needs to have a finished front yard. Think of how much nicer a subdivision looks with landscape versus one without. We are also requiring perimeter block wall and protective walls in all new single-family detached, attached, duplex, and townhome uses in new subdivisions and existing lots. We currently require this for new subdivisions. You have to have a block wall, but in this one mostly applies for these old lots in the city where if someone builds a house now, they don't have to build a wall, but they really should because it's new construction. This is what that requirement is. And then we're also adding wording in there that prohibits the modification of block walls directly adjacent to public right-of-ways, including but not limited to painting, sheathing, coating, enlarging, fastening, tethering, etc. So if you have a perimeter wall on a subdivision, you cannot paint it. You cannot attach anything to it. You cannot drill holes. You cannot plaster it. You cannot enlarge it. You may have seen a couple around town, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't have anything in the code right now that makes that a violation, but we're trying to add this so that we are covered. Any questions on these requirements? We have come to the part of the presentation where I will cover the recommendations. The Planning and Zoning Commission They reviewed this on October 25th, and they recommended approval of the text amendment with a slight amendment. We used to have in there wording that would prohibit metal sheet roofing, but it was changed to prohibit corrugated, I hope I'm saying this right, corrugated metal sheets, basically in Spanish known as lamina. No lamina roofs, or galvanized steel, if you will. And staff's recommendation, of course, is to approve this text amendment case, but I believe that you might get to that not in the public hearing, but in the item a little bit in the future. But just so you know, these are the recommendations. And that is the end of my presentation for this public hearing, Mayor and Council.
Any questions or comments?
Is this, I thought we had spoken about not specifically having just one subdivision of R15s. It was like kind of a mixture of R16 and R15s. Is that still in place, or is this just to have like a subdivision of just R15s?
So right now, these when we give a designation to a subdivision, either R16 or R15, that's the minimum lot size. It doesn't mean that you can't go over and cross over into the 6,000s. You very well may have a subdivision with 85% R15, meaning they don't exceed 6,000 or go into the 6,000s. You'll probably have some premium lots, the bigger lots that are 63, 65, 64. I can very much see that happening. I don't think we'll see a subdivision. We could. We didn't add any wording to prohibit it, but in my opinion is that we'll see a mix of densities, and that the developer will want to have some premium lots that are bigger. In subdivisions, this is really typical. You have your premium lots, so these would be your 6,000s, perhaps even 7,000. But no, we are not setting maximum lot sizes, if that answers your question.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? There's none. Is there a motion to close public hearing? A motion by Council Member Sendejas. Second by Councilmember Garcia. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Saul.
Moving on to new business. Discussion and possible action to approve zoning code text amendment case PLN 21-00028. A request by the City of Somerton to amend the Somerton zoning and subdivision ordinance regarding the creation of an R15 zoning designation and a proposed update to the residential design standards for all new single-family detached, attached, duplex, and townhome units.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is the action item on the proposed text amendment that I've just described in the public hearing. And as I mentioned in that presentation, staff's recommendation is for approval of text amendment case PLN 21-0028 with the changes made by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which it's all in the actual text found in the exhibits. And that is our recommendation. There was a little bit of discussion in the public hearing about potentially adding in some language in there that would restrict the overhang whenever the house is situated on the lot at 5 feet. That could be incorporated as well if that is your wish, but staff's recommendation is for approval of this text amendment case.
Is there a motion?
So move, Mayor.
Just with the staff recommendation or with discussion and public hearing?
I think discussion was public hearing.
Okay. So for the setback to stay at 5, but the overhang, and if they have a 2-foot overhang, to be reduced to to be increased to a 7-foot setback.
Correct. So when the way I understood it was that if the house is located at if it's going up to the 5-foot setback line, they would have no overhang or very little overhang, just basically the fascia board of that, but no projection into the setback.
Okay.
Second.
There's a second by Councilmember Sendejas. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor.
Do you approve, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I'm happy.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action to approve first reading by title only of ordinance 2021-009, an ordinance of the mayor and city council amending portions of section 2 and section 4 of the 2015 Somerton zoning ordinance in relation to the creation of a new R15 zoning classification and amending certain design requirements for all new residential development and providing for severability.
Mr. Mayor, this is the ordinance that approves the item that you just approved, creating the new R15 zoning district, zoning classification and amending the design requirements. This item does require an ordinance, which is prepared here for you, and upon approval, first reading by title only would satisfy the requirement.
Is there a motion to approve first reading by title only of ordinance number 2021-009?
So moved.
So motion by Councilmember Sendejas. Second by Councilmember Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is ordinance number 2021-009, an ordinance of the mayor and city council amending portions of section 2 zoning districts and section 4.4 open space, landscape, and walls of the 2015 Somerton zoning ordinance in relation to the creation of the new R15 zoning classification and amending certain design requirements for all new residential development and severability.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Severability. I was having trouble with that word. Item number 3, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2021-019, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Somerton approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement with the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona from its drinking water revolving fund, delegating the determination of certain matters relating thereto to the city manager, the public works director, and the finance director of the city, providing for the transfer of certain monies and making certain covenants and agreements with respect thereto, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to consummation of the transactions contemplated by such loan agreement and this resolution. This is written by Serena, right?
Yes, it was. Fortunately, Serena can't make it today. She had asked for time off. On August 3rd, 2021, Mayor and Council did approve Resolution 2021-012 on the loan amount with WIFA not to exceed $450. After the bid comes out, obviously, there was an increase in prices when we were asking for this loan was actually beginning of the year. So now that we are closer to the end of the fiscal, the calendar year, increase of pricing has gone up from 20 to 30%. Nationally, 4 to 7% on some of the increases on PVC. So resolution number 2021-19 would authorize the city to request additional funds to cover the increase projected between $150,000 and $200,000. And when we spoke to WIFA, they were asking for us to ask for a loan increase. We might not be able to use it. We might not use it at all, but we want to make sure that it's there for any increases or anything that may occur during construction.
Any questions or comments from members of council?
How are we
I
gonna
have
use-
one.
oh,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
So Garcia and then Vice Mayor.
Probably the same question. What are we gonna use? How are we gonna pay it back? What funds are we gonna use?
The same as the last time, the funds were water increase on water rates.
Well, that was my question, and I have a little bit of concern on that because I believe one of it is in the scope of work is an alternate, which is about over $100,000. I mean, my concern is all these rates are being current ratepayers are using to fund this mechanism. I could understand for the high school, but in order to loop a system, that's asking a little too much. My question to staff is, what about the properties that the city has and they sold? Are those individuals that bought the property going to be paying anything towards this line that they will be using themselves?
Yes, that's part of the development fees that they will be covering.
But it wasn't part of the infrastructure because I believe there was plenty of conversations where we were all in that we wanted them to be on the hook for some of this infrastructure improvements.
I believe they're part of that whole 20 acres portion. If that's what you're discussing, yes, they're in the hook for this as well.
Okay, so not 100% of this is going to be from ratepayers eventually.
Correct. No,
It might.
not at all.
Okay, and this is where I think it's very critical in order for us to be able to make a decision that all that information is provided to us as far as a breakdown. Because when you guys mentioned that the ratepayers would be paying for that, I'm like, well, what the heck? I don't live in that area. I don't have a development in that area. Why am I paying for it? But realistically, we're not paying for it. What's paying for it is some of these properties around there, which again brings me back to the thing that I've been complaining from day one. Why haven't we done a benefit area so the ratepayers would not be on the hook for any of this?
When we establish a loan through WIFA, they base it on our water rates, not necessarily what if you're going to sell the lot for in the development fees. That's a separate issue. And with WIFA, they base it on our water rates, and that's how we get the loan. But some of this loan will be paid off through the development fees.
Yeah, that is correct, because they want the funds guaranteed, and that's
Correct.
the only way we could guarantee the funds. But if you create a benefit area, then guess what? Everybody would contribute to it that would benefit in one way or another off of those lines that are being put, and the burden is not strictly on the ones that bought us our property, that we bought the whatever 50 acres, whatever it was, and the school.
Correct. The 20-acre commercial area, they'll be responsible, including the City of Somerton, which we have about 30 acres as well, which is the park.
Well, once we do something with those 30 acres, whether it's a park or not,
Correct. They'll be in the hook.
Yeah, hopefully they reimburse these ratepayers back, because I think, like I said, I think it's unfair that the ratepayers flip the bill for this.
No.
So it's not something that we need to ensure that when development fees are assessed, that monies are not lost in ratepayers, those enterprise funds, and those development fees are used for this payment. So hopefully we can ensure that.
And Mayor, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
And also the proceeds from the sale of the land, we we could pay off the original debt that we incurred from purchasing, and then whatever's left over is put it towards paying these water bills, because I mean all these expenses are the ones that dictate our rates, and not everybody can afford rate increases. I mean, fortunately, you know, some of us are in a position where financially we're doing okay and we could afford it, but doesn't mean that we forget about the ones that are barely making it or barely making it.
Correct. I think the other issue was when back in 2019, I believe that we were taking the water rates for new development. I think that Titular Bias did recommend for a $2 increase, I believe, and Mayor and Council decided to decrease it to, I believe, 97 cents.
Well, yeah, because again, I don't think it's fair for us to be paying development else for somebody else's development. I mean, you're going to have a few corporations and making money. So how can I sit there and say, hey, you know what, ratepayers pay the water line so these guys can make some money? Doesn't make sense.
Any other questions or comments? So hopefully these comments are captured and we're not here 2 years later paying directly from when there's development that we actually using those revenues from those development fees to pay these amenities here. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2021-1019?
So moved.
So motion by Councilmember Sendejas. Second by Councilmember Galindo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, discussion and possible action to award the lowest responsible bidder, Yuma Valley Contractors, the Avenue F and a quarter alignment and Jefferson Street water main project in the amount of $643,866.57.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. This item was presented in the past, and the staff decided to rebid this project. The project scope of work is basically the same and contemplating the installation of a new 12-inch PVC water line along F and a quarter or Parkview Avenue between Main Street and Jefferson, and an alternate bid, which includes the installation of a new 10-inch PVC water line along Jefferson Street between F and a quarter and Cesar Chavez. The lowest bidder was Yuma Valley Contractors with a base bid amount of $516.17. And the alternate bid came as a $138,850.40, which with a total bid project of $643,866.57. This project is part of our water CIP, and it will be funded using the WEFA loan that is just basically approved in the last item. Mayor, Council, do you have any question before my recommendation?
Questions or comments?
Is there a reason why Yuma Valley and K Construction is so different, almost double the price?
K Construction is a company that is out of town.
Go ahead.
Mayor, our recommendation is to award the bid to Yuma Valley Contractors in the base bid amount of $643,866.57.
Is there a motion? So motion by Councilmember Galindo. Second by Councilmember Sendejas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2021-018, a resolution of the Mayor and Council of City of Somerton adopting the final land use assumptions and infrastructure improvement plan for public safety facilities, wastewater facilities, and transportation facilities.
Mayor and Council, before you, we have, I think Ben. Ben, are you on the phone?
No, I'm on Zoom.
Oh,
Can you hear
okay,
me?
Zoom. Okay,
Yeah.
great. On October 19th, we did have a public hearing regarding the information that Ben Griffin from Titular Bice has made. We made some couple of changes based on the direction of Mayor and Council, and Ben is going to present.
All right, thank you. And I can't share my screen. So yeah, if someone will just advance that for me.
Yes.
And we'll move through this pretty quickly because there were very minimal changes. So tonight, we're going to discuss the land use assumptions in the IIP again, and then at the end, we'll look at the fee summary. So on the next slide, this is the adoption timeline. So December 7th, if you choose, you may adopt the land use assumptions in the IIP. If you do that tonight, then tomorrow you can advertise the development fees, which are part of the report you've already seen. And then January 18th, we would have the first public hearing on the development fees. March 1st, you could adopt those fees, and then they could go into effect on May 16th. All right, so part of what you would be adopting tonight would be the land use assumptions. So what you see in the base year is, a population of about, 18.5 with about 1,600 jobs. And what we're saying is over the next 10 years, based on recent growth, you can expect about 1,400 additional housing units, which translates into a population increase of about 4,600 people. And then on the non-residential side, about 387 additional jobs over that 10-year period. And that corresponds to about 379,000 additional square feet of non-residential floor area. So are there any questions related to the land use assumptions?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to public safety. So there are two changes that we've made since the October meeting. We removed the planned fire station from the public safety facilities component. So now we're just looking at repaying the debt related to the existing public safety facility, and then expanding that facility related to police facility space. And so that changes the 10-year growth cost of the public safety facilities to about $1.1 million. And then existing development share of that is the remaining $2.1 million. We adjusted some of the costs related to vehicles and apparatus. And so now over 10 years, by maintaining the existing level of service, you would still need 7.4 additional units of vehicles and apparatus, but the related cost is $802,000. There's no change to the cost recovery for the ladder truck. So in the next slide, this will show you the updated fees for public safety facilities. Again, you're not adopting these tonight. It's just the land use assumptions in IIP. This would be in the second round of adoption, but a single family home in this updated fee schedule would pay $992 related to public safety development fees. So any question with public safety before we move on to streets? Okay, so with streets, I checked with Sam. There is a 15% contingency built into the street costs, which will help if inflation continues to increase as it has been over the last year. So on the next slide, you would see a single family home would pay $1,254 for the street facilities fees. Any questions with streets? Okay. And finally, the wastewater facilities. Again, we have 3 service areas. So the citywide service area covers the treatment facilities. So it's basically repaying yourself for the existing treatment facility. In the northeast area, which is east of Somerton Ave, north of Jefferson, and south of County 15th, there would be a lift station in the northwest, which is basically around the new high school. a separate lift station. And so those lift stations would be repaid by future development in that area. So the citywide, repayment over the next 10 years will be about $2.5 million. And then in the Northeast, you're trying to, come up with $2.3 million for that lift station. The Northwest, about $2.2 million. So if we go to the next slide, no matter where you are in the city, you would pay a base fee of $1,798 related to wastewater facilities. And then on the next slide, if you are in the Northeast, you would pay not only for the treatment facilities, but also for your lift station. So the base fee in the Northeast would be $3,243. And in the Northwest, again, you're paying the citywide treatment facilities fee and then paying for the lift station for the Northwest area. And so that base fee would be $3,016. All right, and then the next slide, this is a fee summary of the non-utility fees. So we're not updating Parks and Rec now, but we did want to include that just so you see it. So a single family home under the proposed fee schedule would pay $3,569. And then on the next slide, that's just a comparison of all of the water and wastewater fees. Again, we're not updating the water fees at this time. We did that 2 years ago, just updating the wastewater fees. But this does show you, based on where you are in the city, what your fees would be. All right. So, are there any questions or comments?
How often do we review these fees, the IIP?
They are required in Arizona to be updated at least every 5 years. But, if you have, a lot of growth or, costs change a lot, you can update them, sooner than every 5 years.
Okay, well, one thing I guess just for staff to keep in mind, if with this infrastructure plan, if we get more, when we get more direction, there's going to be a lot for water and wastewater. So I'm hoping that we get some of these grants, and if we do, then we can take a look at this IIP, because it's one of those things that it's necessary, but at the same time, it does affect the development when we are competing with, our neighboring municipalities where we have ag land, and the other place there's desert land, which is mostly cheaper, and they look at all that. So I'm hoping that we do get those grants and we can amend this IIP here in the next year and a half. So. Any other questions or comments from staff? Or no, the council, sorry. Vice Mayor Villalpando, you're quiet.
No, I kind of disagree with some of the stuff. I don't think we should be building lift stations ourselves. But whatever. If we're going to be doing lift stations, then we're going to be doing lift stations.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2021-018? It's a motion by Councilmember Sendejas. Second by Councilmember Garcia. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. So, summary of current events.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Appreciate your time. I just want to verify I just received an email from our COVID-19 early warning. We have a level 2. It's been fluctuating up and down. 4,000 to 17. It's dropping, but it goes up and down, but it's still up. Our current variant continues to be Delta, but continue to track the Omicron variant is still lingering. Also, with the high school commission pertaining to permitting, some district
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Just want to mention that the Somerton Community Fund, which is managed by Mr. Louis Galavis and Mr. Barkley, approved a grant of $5,000 to use for our programs. It's going to be concentrating on our playing the virtual game project and some minor funding for Centennial Park lighting. As I mentioned, it was just recently confirmed. Also, APS did confirm our $3,500 grant. It was approved for amping cultural programs in South County project. It's intended to go for activating a piano and guitar program, buying instruments, and building up the cultural programs here in Somerton. Also, partial funding is going to be directed for the Art and Wine Festival for February 19th of 2022. Finally, the trenching agreement with APS and preliminary design was forwarded to APS on Friday, December 3rd, to move forward with the Somerton Community Center HVAC project. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. The big one, of course, is the illegals coming in mass across the border, and we've responded 12 times so far in the last few days to that and transported quite a few. In fact, right now they just transported a 15-year-old girl. I guess it was an independent reporter on the levee that started talking to them, and it came across someone that was ill, so we went over there, we transported. The general public doesn't realize that it can be very tricky out there because it's the levee, and you get off the levee, you have the river road. The river road travels all the way from Morelos Dam all the way to the border, and you have to find them out there in the sticks. So it can be a challenge. On the upside, I was, in fact, I've offered to talk to James Gilbert with the Sun regarding the crew that worked yesterday, and that crew was a sea crew. Captain Stephen Clark's in charge of them, but they really impressed me with their attitude towards having all this additional work and the stress that comes with being surrounded by 80 or 90 people around an ambulance, and everybody wants to get on board. Instead of looking at it the wrong way, they came back to station and they went and bought jam and jelly and made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He asked me for permission. He went and bought a pallet full of water, and they went back and started feeding the people, giving them water. So I was really impressed with their attitude towards the people out there. I think what really impressed me was a 3-year-old girl came up crying because she hadn't been able to drink enough water. And so I'm very, very proud of my people. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Marlene, she's taken my place. Next month I'll be until early January. I'll be here. But just an update about the Barbuck Commerce Center, the commercial development, 20 acres. This coming week, we're expecting the closing of 2 properties there. Lot number 2, the Fontanes Retail, and also lot number 7 for Avenue Gym. So that will be closing very soon. And Sunset is coming later. But for now, those are the 2 properties that will be very close to sell. As I've discussed it before, during the discussion with Saul, the actual infrastructure internally in the subdivision will be paid by the actual buyers of those properties. The sidewalks, the water line, the sewer lines, each new property owner will pay their share of the infrastructure costs. So that will be actually shared, the whole cost. Thank you. Marlene?
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I wanted to do a current events invitation and reminder to join Mayor Gerardo Anaya this Thursday for the leaders of a region for Fronted. It will be at 12 p.m. It will be a discussion on the many different assets that the binational mega region has.
Mr. Palacios.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. An update on our Cesar Chavez Avenue traffic signal project. Contractor is waiting on the delivery of the illuminated street name signs and the pedestrian push buttons for the traffic signal. Preliminary walkthrough was performed last week, and basically no major items were found. And contractor is working currently on the punch list. The high school area sewer lift station project, contractor completed all the pipe installation, basically the gravity line and the force main. And most of all the lift station work has been completed. Just 3 pending items for the lift station, which is the electrical panel, the generator, and complete the block wall around the lift station. And on the Valle Vista main station project, contractor completed submitting all the material submittals. Our consultant engineer reviewed those and approved those too. And basically contractor is now on board. Thank you.
Mr. Saul, I don't know if you have Carmen's current events. Nope.
Mayor and Council, Carmen was unable to attend tonight because she had a family emergency and she did not leave me with a list of current events. So I have nothing to present to you this evening.
I do have them though.
We already know from you.
You want to read them off?
Oh, sure.
There you go. I wasn't too sure if you had them with you.
So staff is continuing with the review of the Del Sol warehouse, the high school and the elementary school plans. The construction plans have actually been approved by Wildan, but we're still reviewing the civil and landscaping requirements for all these projects. There's also a couple of lot splits that we're actually processing right now. There's a lot split for the future elementary school that we are in the process of reviewing. And we are still reviewing the zoning regulations and civil plans for these. And there is an opening in the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as 3 openings on the Residential and Commercial Advisory and Appeal Board. So if you know anyone who is interested, who would be a good fit, please have them contact Carmen by telephone or in person. That is all.
Thank you very much. Chief Juarez also had a family emergency, but she states that there's continue to be busy on various calls, especially since our seasonal workers have arrived, so more prone for accidents. Our officers worked on firearms target identification and judgment courses last week with the help of CTPD and volunteers. This requirement by AZ Post standards require police agency to review the officer's ability to take action when he or she needs to shall take a deadly force. And with Sarina as well, I don't know if you've seen that we do have that kiosk. It's already in place and has been working. And it continues to move forward. And our new financial system should be close to finalizing here by the end of this month. That is it.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, I have a couple of things. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Hector, welcome back. It's great to see you up and walking around, and I'm glad you're doing well. And second of all, Saul touched bases on it a little bit. I did have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Salcido. He did express some concern that he was being not delayed, but the plan reviews were taking a little bit longer than what I guess he felt comfortable with. So he did ask me to relay the message and see if anything can be done. So I guess my question to staff is maybe if the delay is because they're backed up on work, maybe at looking at other options to to hire somebody else to do plan reviews. I know I've mentioned to the city manager before that there is Oscar Galindo. He's hard to get a hold of, but he does do plan reviews. So I guess just keep in mind that maybe not necessarily him, but there is other engineering companies that might be able to do some plan reviews for us.
We'll take that into consideration, but there's other issues that were pending as well.
How long did
there's some issues regarding that they started some of the work without being permitted.
Okay. Yeah. I know there's state statute that they need to have it within 3 weeks, if not it's approved or something like that.
Information was given to them. We were waiting for them to reply to that response.
Okay. Yeah, we can send council a timeline, just forward it to all of us. Galindo.
Just one thing. I was approached by the Martinez family up in the Mesa. I guess their father passed away a month ago in County 16 and Highway 95, and they said, who's in charge, Somerton or the county? And they know how many accidents have happened there, and what are we doing to put a stoplight there? And I said, well, find out, and we have. I know it's the county, but there's people, they, and I said, let me find out, get back to you about it.
I would suggest they reach out to the supervisor.
I didn't say exactly who it was, but I said, it was Martin, but, so they asked me, is there anything you guys can do? We provide them with water, so they believe it's Somerton in charge. It says, and I know there's been a lot of accidents in that area.
Talk to Martin and Tony. Yeah. Sendejas.
Again, Hector, welcome. I'm so glad to see you. Very happy to see you. And I want to congratulate everyone who received the recognition on Saturday for their years of service. Thank you very much for your dedication to our city. I apologize for not being able to attend. I attended the tree lighting ceremony, which was my first one as an official city council member, and it was great. I want to thank the staff for their hard work. I know they worked many, many long hours to decorate the Centennial Park, and it looks real beautiful. I would like to suggest that we purchase another tree. Kind of looks kind of flopped, like falling apart, but it looks pretty. Thank you, Brisa. Brisa did an amazing job in emceeing the event, and thanks to Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus for their time, and Fire for taking them around. The kids were super, super excited. I enjoyed the dinner with the Cocopa tribe and the leaders, and if I could make a recommendation that if we can meet with them every quarter, just to have that open line of communication as a whole with them. The discussion was great, and I think that working together will unite us even more. That's all I have.
With the tree, there was the lighting for the water tower is not complete yet. So with the tree, I was like,
yeah, the water tower will be the future tree.
So it's like we didn't do the countdown of the tree. It's like, we're not going to do a countdown for that tree. Garcia.
Like everybody else, welcome, Hector. It's nice seeing you again. We're going to have a new vaccine clinic. Well, not a new, but another vaccine clinic, December 16th, which is a Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the old senior center, now cultural center. Anybody that needs booster, first time, second, flu shot, more than welcome to come. I also was able to attend the employee recognition. I'm hopeful you all whoever was able to attend, you all had a good time. Congratulations to everybody, and thank everybody for the years of service. I think we had 135 or 30?
Um,
Leo, 35?
35, yeah, I'm
Luis
sorry.
Aguirre.
Well, 35 was
Luis?
last year, but yes,
Ah,
36.
Luis Aguirre. Okay, yeah. So yes, it was a little bit cold, I know, but I think it was small token of appreciation. And I'm hopeful that next year we'll all be able to join. Tree lighting ceremony was, I think, a success. I do agree. Está muy feo el árbol. But thanks to all staff that participated. And that's it.
Mayor and Council, Jesus Roldan is on the call, but I guess he's muted or something. But he says, just to let Saul know, he did a great job presenting, and welcome back, Hector.
You didn't vote all meeting, is that?
He says that he's been trying, but
wow. Well, thank staff for all the work for the tree lighting, and I know that working hard for the light parade and also the tamale festival. So it's going to be a exciting time, but it's going to be a lot of hard work. So, also, Marlene mentioned on Thursday we're going to have that forefronted. We had it last year, and we're going to have it again. So, just promoting our region. We have an executive session. It's executive session for discussion or consideration of assignments for Jorge Lozano, Chief Personnel Officer for the City of Somerton. Is there a motion to adjourn into executive session? It's a motion by Councilmember Sendejas. Second by Councilmember Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep, and opposed, motion carries. So we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to convene into executive session.